Life and Teaching of the Masters of the Far East by Baird T. Spalding, Volume 6. A word from the publisher. Over many years and many moves, from downtown Los Angeles to Eagle Rock to Santa Monica to Marina del Rey, Divorce and Company was long in possession of 10 cartons of materials relating to Baird T. Spalding, author of the immensely successful life and teaching of the Masters of the Far East, because it was supposed that the cartons held nothing but proofs, printers' correspondence, memos, receipts, and other purely clerical materials relating to the initial printing and subsequent reprinting of the 5 volumes over the years. They remained dilapidated and unvisited, covered with a heavy layer of dust in a remote corner of Devore's huge warehouse. In May of 1990, prompted by curiosity and hopeful that they might hold something of greater interest, even of importance, I moved the cartons to my office, emptied them, and began the slow process of sorting through their contents. To be sure, there was a preponderance of uninteresting, purely clerical material, but to my delight there was also much else, including biographical material, letters to and from Spalding, manuscripts, typescripts, documents, photographs, correspondence from the 1935 to 36 India tour party, Spalding personal effects found at the hotel in Arizona where he died, and pages from the long-defunct Mind magazine published by Divorce for a decade beginning in 1929, to which Spalding contributed numerous articles between 1935 and 37, accompanied by the question and answer format with which readers of Volume 5 are familiar. The years following the discovery of these precious materials saw the slow process of reviewing and cataloging them, then newly storing them, this time in appropriate files, affording access for further research, including the compilation of this volume. Through the friendly cooperation of the Philosophical Research Society in Los Angeles and the New York Public Library, neither of which had a complete set, I was able to assemble the complete record of the contributions by Spalding to Mind magazine, for which the reader now has only to turn to the pages of this book. 3 years to the month before the discovery of these materials, the Divorce and Company was in receipt of the only communication it had ever had from someone purporting to have information about Bear T. Spalding. All of our efforts before and since to find persons with the knowledge of Spalding have been unavailing, serving to reinforce the sense that even in his lifetime he was an elusive figure, despite his also having had a wide circle of friends and acquaintances. Just one of the many paradoxes surrounding this almost mythical man. In her communication, Miss Lois Binford Proctor shared recollections of the late Dr. Neva Del Hunter of the Quimby Center of Alamogordo, New Mexico, who knew Baird Spalding very well and told me of her experiences with him. We are pleased to share these experiences with the kind permission of Miss Proctor. Readers familiar with Volume 5 of Life and Teaching of the Masters of the Far East will recall the eulogy of Bear Spalding spoken by Douglas Divorce, Spalding's publisher, at the memorial service held on Sunday, March 22, 1953, at Carr Mortuary Chapel in Tempe, Arizona. We here include the other eulogy given on this occasion, spoken by Spalding's friend, David Bruton, The two talks should be read in conjunction with each other, as indicated by the order of Mr. Bruton's remarks. Volume 6 of Life and Teaching of the Masters of the Far East complements the preceding 5 volumes and consists then of the following elements: 1. Articles and questions and answers, all by Spalding, from Mind magazine. 2. A new biographical sketch of Spalding from Mind magazine. 3. Manuscripts and paper by Spalding. 4. David Bruton's eulogy of Spalding. 5. Dr. Neva Dell Hunter's recollections of Spalding as recounted by Lois Binford Proctor. 6. A miscellany of letters, photographs, and other Spalding memorabilia. Every effort has been made to ensure that the materials reproduced in the third section, MSS and papers, are Spalding's own compositions. Quotation marks have been used to signal titles improvised where none appeared in the original. With Volume 6, the Spalding canon can be presumed closed, with confidence that its message of benefit to millions over some 3/4 of century has been presented in the fullness of its content and human interest. Author, Vergara, Editor. Pages from Mind magazine, 1935 to 1937. The Message and the Messenger. Editor's Note. Ever since Volume 1, Life and Teaching of the Masters of the Far East by Bear T. Spalding appeared, and continuing through the present Volume 2, the articles appearing in Mind magazine and the India Tour Lessons Volume 4, there has been a vast amount of speculation on the part of various students of truth throughout the world. This speculation has varied from one extreme to another, but this speculation is the result of looking at the whole situation from a purely external point of view. It is time that the mass of humanity learn to distinguish between the message and the messenger, the truth and the vehicle through which truth is presented to the world. Truth is the same regardless of the book that presents it or the teacher who proclaims it. It is not the setting through which truth is presented that should be the point of consideration, but the amount of truth that is given. Learning to distinguish between the thing that is taught and the manner in which it is taught comprises all the difference between confusion and illumination. There is nothing taught in the life of teaching of the masters of the Far East that is not contained in the most ancient religious writing of Hindu philosophy. Nor is there anything that is taught in these writings that is taught or implied in modern religion or metaphysics. There is nothing in Mr. Spalding's writing that is not duplicated in the Bible or practices of Jesus Christ. The setting, the story may have shades of difference, but the truth presented in identically the same if one has the discernment to read them aright. The authority of any individual who dares to declare the truth as it is revealed to him is always challenged. The people of 2,000 years ago challenged the authority of Christ. They proclaimed him a heretic and crucified him for blasphemy. They tormented and humiliated him for teaching the very things for which we now worship him. Time has enabled us to separate his mission and his message from the incidents surrounding him and his works from the environment in which they were performed, of which we have now lost sight. Now we must lose sight of incident and environment in which present man labors to give the same truth to the world, and look to the truth that has lived and does live eternally. In our everyday life, we are inclined to say that distance lends enchantment. We are slow to take into account that this fact largely influences us in our estimates of incidents and people in our practical everyday activities. What might happen in India might have the reverse reaction for an American that it has for a Hindu and vice versa. The people of India would consider the activities of certain people in America as the unmistakable signs of a master. Our Bible might be considered a presumptuous and startling to those who look to the Bhagavad Gita or the Vedas as the sacred books whose pages contain for them the essence of truth. A Hindu might well come to America to witness the modern miracles accredited to certain people of this country, and we would consider it a mark of their intelligence should they do so. But should we journey to India to witness the same performances and to receive the same teaching, it would be considered by some other Americans as an indication of mental weakness. But is it a case of mental weakness in either event, or does it not indicate the thirst for true knowledge that burns alike in the common heart of mankind? The fact is, whether it be the teaching of Hindu, Christ, or modern metaphysician, the purport of any true message is that the truth is to be found in the human heart, and the contact is made right where we may find ourselves at any moment of our existence. If there is that in the teachings of any individual in the Bible or any other one of the 60 sacred books of the world that will give us light on our own divinity, let us consider it. If it points out the infinite principle of life, whether we call that principle by the name of God, Ram, Ra, or Ein Sof, let us drink from its fountain of life. If we will get away from the setting in which the truth is presented and look for the truth at its source, we will find it. Religious prejudice is the most deeply seated prejudice in human nature. If we would find truth, we must rise above our own weaknesses and dare to face the truth wherever it may be found and whatever its discovery may do to the narrow confines of our own beliefs and speculations. To quote Mr. Spaulding in one of his forthcoming lessons, the masters look to America as containing 120 million masters. That is their way of declaring all men as masters. To contact your master is to find your divine self. Whatever presentation of truth helps you to attain this end is vital. If you lose sight of this point, all teachings, so far as you are concerned, is vain. Whether it be a master, a saint, a guru, to the Hindu it means one who is the mouthpiece of the infinite. In America, whether it be a priest, a rector, a preacher, the title is supposed to indicate the same mission. Whether we are true to the trust which we have assumed is a matter for each individual to fathom for himself. For the rest of us, our mission is to discern the truth which emanates, whether it be of God or whether it be the fabrications of our own system of mental delusions. Biographical sketch: Baird T. Spalding. The Spalding family originated in England, and it was there that Baird T. Spalding was born. At the age of 4, he went to India, and India has been his home ever since, although his education and work have taken him to all parts of the world. Soon after his arrival in India, Baird enrolled in the preparatory school of the university. At the age of 17, he finished at the university. After 2 years in California, he went to Germany, where he studied for 8 years at Heidelberg, returning to California for postgraduate school in archaeology at Berkeley and Stanford. Baird T. Spalding comes from a family that has lived and worked for over 300 years in India and the Gobi Desert. It was through a discovery of his great-grandfather that the Spalding Foundation had its inception, leading to the discovery of ruins in the Gobi where the foundation is working today. This is the story. Bear Spalding's great-grandfather was engaged in trade and was taking a load of goods down to the Ganges. It was at the flood season, but being unaccustomed to the conditions, the party kept on until the waters were sweeping away the banks. The boats were pulled out on the shelf. One boat was alongside of the wall that had been exposed. A native broke through the wall, and out of it fell several gold pieces. Inside was a vault, and in this vault was a book of gold. This book was the second of the series, and in it was given the location of the other books. The books give a concise history of the old civilization, designating longitudes and latitudes. The second of the last page of each book is a map of the location of the other books. The last page is a map of the location of the cities. It was realized that if these people knew how to work longitudes and latitudes by finding their point of departure, it would be possible to find the locations of the cities. The engineers working under the Spalding Foundation were 19 years finding the location of the city in the Gobi, but they struck the ruins when they sank their first shaft. Spalding's great-grandfather was never in the Gobi. His grandfather went there in 1868, and Bear T. Spalding made his first trip in 1879. Today it has been proved conclusively that the so-called legends of the older civilization are truth. It is known that these older civilizations existed and that the people accomplished more than we have accomplished today. We know that the greatest civilization known was in this country, right there where we are, and in different portions of the North and South American continents, in the continent now submerged in the Pacific, and possibly in the continent now submerged in the Atlantic. There is no question but what that great race lived in the spiritual side of life. Mr. Spalding is in the United States today. His book, Life and Teaching of the Masters of the Far East, Volume 3, is off the press, and Mr. Spalding has been lecturing and answering questions concerning this work in the Gobi and his life with the Masters of the Far East. He plans to visit 25 of the principal cities of the United States before departing for India and the Gobi on September 30th. A growing number of students, authors, and scientists are planning to accompany him as far as India, where he will conduct them along the great Indian highways to the village, temples, and homes of the masters of the Far East. Mind magazine is now reporting the Spalding lectures and question forums and will feature the questions and answers in its pages each month, together with articles recording the happenings on the world tour. Departure was on October 4th after the month's Coast to Coast promotional tour. Ed. Talk was given at Unity, Los Angeles, July 28, 1935. Our work has been archaeological research, and I'm not a lecturer, I'm an engineer, and our work has been in a field about which we talk little, but because of the inquiries as to whether or not these things are fact, and if these people really lived, it is necessary to come out and tell some of the results of our contact with the people who lived and who are now living this is so-called remarkable life. To them it is not remarkable. It is the natural sequence of life well lived. Our research work has proved conclusively that every one of its demonstrations can be proved, that there is a scientific fact back of it. In fact, we know today that each accomplishment of any description is brought about by a scientific fact underlying it. A person does not need to wonder or speculate on these conditions. We can use them by stepping forth and becoming one with them. It becomes perfectly simple. The Western world seems to be working through the complicated conditions, whereas the Eastern world works with them. You cannot accomplish a thing lest you stand one with it. It is not leading from one thing to another, but accomplishing one thing and then taking up another thing in a perfectly orderly sequence. Our research has been carried on so that we can say, and it will be proved, that there is no such thing as death. It is only the accomplishment of the individual and the mass of individuality. It is accomplished in exactly the same way as we accomplish anything else. It is far easier to accomplish life than death because life is a more magnificent thing. Death occurs when the vibrations become so low that life is crowded out. There is no doubt that the scientific facts will be brought out so that they are explainable. We will be able to show you a mathematical formula for bodily perfection. It will be presented as simply as the multiplication table. It is being worked out right here in this country now. People look on that as a mystery. It is not. These things can be proved. If we do not believe them, we do not have them. If we do not come forth and accept them, they are not for us. This research work has been carried on because of our feeling that people would use them at some time. And older people in an old civilization lived in a higher altitude than we do today. The records they left are most valuable to the civilization of today. If humanity can be assisted by them, so much the better. If they are not practical, we do not want anything to do with them. Consequently, we have tried to bring it down to an actual practical working basis with no mystery or myth. If that can be taken out, it can be lived and accomplished in every attitude of life. If one person accomplished it, all can and will. Questions and answers. Question. In Volume 3, Life and Teaching of the Masters of the Far East, you speak of being with the Masters and arriving at places where it would seem you in a physical could not go. Would you give us a little light on that? Answer. Many times the transference of our bodies was without our knowledge. It is evident that we project our vision to a definite place. We would be at that place the instant the projection is completed. The only thing that keeps us from being at that destination is that we accept that some outer force holds us where we are. If we would let go of that limitation, we would be in a place we vision instantly. We would be in perfect harmony with the condition. That would take us instantly to a place where our vision is located. The vibration of the body transferred is much higher. It becomes one with those vibrations, which operate at a greater frequency. We have an electronic body, which is with us always, and that body is the body in which we actually live. It is only another determination for the actual life we live. As a matter of fact, we have one body in which we live that has all the attributes of being. If we do not make a division, we could be wherever we willed instantly. It is possible to leave behind this body, but it is the greater thing to take it with you always. Question. Could we bring Emil or any of the other masters here? Answer. I have never attempted it. I stand this way. I am here. If I need them, they will be here. Or if they wish to come, they are free to come. If we become completely at one with them, we are with them always. The Christ stands where we stand. There is no division except that which man makes. Question. You said that there was but one presentation of the Christ? Answer: there is but one universal Christ of all mankind. If we stand one with Christ, we are that very thing. Jesus presented the Christ to the world, which all men may present if they will. Question: is the Christ always a man? Answer: the Christ dwells within the individuals always. Question: wasn't it vibrations that broke down the walls of Jericho? Answer: possibly, but recent excavations show that the walls were undermined. That may have been done by vibrations. Question: where is Saint Germain? Answer: we do not know. We do not know of any location in which he confines himself. All of these people of that high altitude work for the whole world. Saint Germain has chosen to work with many political divisions, but he does not confine himself. Question: does every soul have to make the accession as did Jesus? Answer: no, but they will make the accession as they see it. You are never bound to any one condition or any form of condition. You are bound to your own determination of that condition. You are perfectly free to make the accession at any instant, and you are always living to a higher level because you are presenting that ideal. Question: what about those who are supposed to have died? Answer: they are not in death. The body is what we look on as inactive. The life is not with that body. It has left the body and goes on just the same. It is only a change, and the death is a mistaken idea. End of question and answer.